And welcome everybody to another edition of the GSMC Sports Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have you guys here on this Thursday, April 24th. We have a lot to cover on the show today. Before I get into all that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate, get your comments recognized. Make sure to hit that super chat button in the chat if you want to see me acknowledge any thought or comment you may have throughout the live broadcast. It makes the show more lively, more entertaining. Between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers, we appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day. So any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us as we put out content for you guys each and every day. And also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. That is GSMCPodcast.net. So let's get into what we are going to discuss for today. So we're going to start off the show. So I did do a mock draft last night. So we'll start off. We'll go through the first half of the first round, who I picked for each selection for each team. What needs do the non-playoff teams have to address in this draft? So we'll go over my mock draft. It's not going to be accurate. It's a rough mock draft, and you guys also got to cut me some slack because I also I'm not an expert on every single prospect in this draft. So other than like the first three picks and maybe a couple of others, I'm kind of just like, all right, this team needs this position. So that's what I went with. So we'll go through, kind of the first half of the first round in the first segment. Then in the second part of the show, we'll go through the playoff teams. We'll go through the second half of the first round. We'll go through, who I had being selected with the playoff teams from last season. Then, in the third part of the show, we'll go over the games from last night in the NBA, who won the matchups. And then in the fourth part of the show, we'll preview the games tonight, Knicks, Pistons, Grizzlies, and the Thunder. We'll go through all of those as well. Then, in the final part of the show, we'll talk about the New York Mets, because they are playing some really good baseball right now. They have the best record in the majors, so we'll kind of go through that as well. So this is as my camera is really, really bugging out right now, so hopefully it calms down a little bit, because usually it'll kind of subside, but it doesn't seem like it's going to do that. So we're just going to go to the backup option for the time being. I was experiencing some issues before the show, which, is common. And with this being my last week, of course, we're going to have some issues with the camera. So, but yes, this is the second to last show that I will be hosting here on the GSMC Sports Podcast. Tomorrow is the last day. And tomorrow will basically just be, all takeaways from round one, and maybe talking about what teams still have to address. But let's kind of get into my mock draft, shall we? So like I said, we're going to cover the first half of it, all the non-playoff teams from last season. We'll talk about, who I have going where. But yes, tonight is the draft. We have made it. This is a big deal. This is kind of one of those early signs of, hey, football season is right around the corner, which, well, I shouldn't say it's right around the corner, but we're getting to that point. And listen, I'm excited. I'm nervous. I'm skeptical. I don't know what's going to happen because, obviously I'm trying to focus on my team and, what they're going to end up doing. And that is, the New York Giants. Because, obviously the two picks ahead of them, the Browns and the Titans, that could very well, that does decide what the Giants are ultimately going to do at 3. And, I've said it all along, I would like for the Giants to approach this draft, to approach this pick by taking best player available. And I think the best player available when the Giants ultimately do pick is going to be Abdul Carter. So to kind of go through how I have my mock draft set up. So again, I was doing it last night. The easiest one, unless this could be a smokescreen, and I've said that a couple of times. But I do have Cam Ward going to Tennessee. It seems like the Titans are in love with Cam Ward, and they're a team that needs a quarterback. And actually, speaking of the Titans, they did add another weapon for their potential rookie quarterback. They added Tyler Lockett, so they bring in a veteran receiver over. So I just wanted to bring that up. But yeah, Cam Ward I have going to the Titans. So that's the easy one. Then Then this is where the draft really starts to go. So I do have the Browns taking Travis Hunter. It seems like the way things are trending that's what's going to end up happening. Now, could they take Abdul Carter? Sure. To line him up opposite of Myles Garrett, they could definitely do that. But I think they're looking to add Travis Hunter. And I got him going to Cleveland. And then I have the Giants taking Abdul Carter. They're going to take best player available. At least that's what I'm hoping. And they'll have him line up opposite of Brian Burns and Dexter Lawrence on the inside. And it's going to be interesting because if they do draft Abdul Carter, what does that mean for Kayvon Thibodeau? Does that mean they're going to end up trading him? Because that definitely is a possibility. But you could also look at it and say, hey, you got, a lot of pass rushers on this team, and you want to keep that. But we'll see. But yes, I got the Giants taking Abdul Carter. The Patriots is interesting. The Patriots, I could see them being one of those teams that trades down. If a team wants to jump up to 4, I could see that potentially happening. I could see the Browns I could see, the top 3 picks, well, except the Titans. I could see the Browns and the Giants trading down. I hope they don't. Well, I hope the Giants don't. The Patriots, I could also see it. But I got them taking an offensive lineman, an offensive tackle, Will Campbell, who is arguably the best tackle in this draft out of LSU. Patriots' offensive line was a weakness last year, so I got them taking him at 4. I got Mason Graham from Michigan going to Jacksonville. The Jacksonville could do several different things. You're hearing Ashton Genty could be a possibility. Maybe they trade down. I don't know, but this team has a lot of holes. I feel like they should address other areas besides running back. But yeah, I have him going to Jacksonville. But we'll see. I got it, but I have him going at 5 to the Jaguars. I've said it all along. I have Ashton Genty going to the Raiders. The Raiders want to improve the running back room. Now, if he ends up getting taken, then maybe you see them address another position. Either on the defensive side of the ball, maybe offensive line. Could they trade down? But yeah, the running game for the Raiders was not good last year, and this is a weapon that they could really use on the offensive side of the ball. So I have him going at 6. Tyler Warren, I have going to the Jets. I know a lot of people have them taking a tackle, but I have him going at 7 to the Jets. The Jets could use that weapon on that side of the ball. It could be this, another weapon for Justin Fields. If they take a tackle, it's not the worst thing in the world. But that's who I have going to the Jets. And then at 8 is interesting. Okay, I could be wrong with this. Well, I definitely could be wrong with this. But I actually have the Panthers taking Tetairoa McMillan. I feel like the Panthers still need another weapon to add to this offense to help out Bryce Young. I know they're looking at some of the other young receivers. They still have Adam Thielen. But go out and get Bryce Young, arguably the best receiver in this draft, one of the best receivers in this draft. Give him a number 1 receiver. So, that was my way of thinking with that. So, we'll see. But I know some people have edge rusher. That's a possibility. But, again, I just was like, hey, Bryce Young needs a weapon. I haven't put him on anybody's team yet. That's who I have at 8. 9, I got Shedeur Sanders going to the Saints. I know that's been a popular pick for a lot of people now with the Derek Carr news. So, yeah, I got him going at 9, so we'll see what happens. The Bears was interesting. That's another team I could see trading down. I didn't really know what to do here. I feel like if they want to address the running back position, they can maybe address that in the later rounds. I had them taking Malachi Starks at 10, the safety out of Georgia. But I don't know. We'll see what they do there. They could maybe take a tackle to fortify that offensive line. I did have the 49ers taking Will Johnson out of Michigan. With Hufanga leaving in free agency, with Charvarius Ward leaving in free agency, they kind of do need to address the secondary. So I had the 49ers ending up with him. Now, they could maybe address the offensive line. They can maybe address the defensive line. But I had them taking Will Johnson. I had the Cowboys taking a receiver. I think they're taking a playmaker at 12. Right now, I have them taking Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State. They need another receiver outside of CeeDee Lamb. And, whether it's him, whether it's Matthew Golden, who I have being taken later in the first round, that's what I have the Cowboys doing at 12. The Dolphins could do, several different things. Right now, I had them taking Armen Membu from Missouri, the tackle. Another guy to help protect Tua on the offensive line. So we'll see what happens there. The Dolphins could do a couple different things. Maybe they take an edge rusher, address the defensive side of the ball. We'll see. I do have the Colts taking a tight end. It seems like that's what they want to do with their first pick. Colston Loveland from Michigan. The Falcons, I have them taking Mike Green from Marshall, an edge rusher. I think he had 17.5 sacks last year, which is really good. I have the Cardinals taking Walter Nolan from Ole Miss, defensive lineman, at 16. At 17, I got the Bengals taking Kenneth Grant out of Michigan. We'll see what happens. But yeah, they need to go defensive heavy in this draft. And then I have the Seahawks taking an edge rusher, Donovan Ezrier-Uraku. I hope that's how you pronounce it, out of Boston College. But I think that's also another team that could address the offensive line. But again, this is just a rough mock draft. So, yeah, but those are all the non-playoff teams from last season. Let me know what you guys think about my mock draft. How accurate do you think it is? You'll probably say, maybe the first 3 picks are accurate, and then you're wrong on every single one after that. But, yeah, I looking back, I could see the Seahawks taking a tackle because I do have several teams taking tackles later on, the playoff teams. So, but, yeah, that's how my first round goes. Let me know what you guys think about it, or the first half of the first round. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. So we're going to take our first break, and then when we come back, we will take a look at the second half of my mock draft. We'll talk about every playoff team from last season's needs and what they could potentially do. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Sports Podcast.